Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Satyam Kumar and today's video we are going to read Spring Framework Notes Session 21 Stereotype Annotation and Properties. So if you're learning Spring Framework or aiming full stack Java developer, this notes is very important for you. So let's start this video. Question is, I have 10 Spring Beans. How can we make only 5 Spring Beans participating in pre-instantiation? I have 10 spring beans. How can we make only 5 spring beans participating in the pre-instantiation? So answer number 1, take all the take all the 10 spring beans as the singleton scope spring beans, but enable lazy true on 5 spring beans, but make sure that these 5 spring beans are not dependent to other 5 singleton scope spring bean. Answer number 2, take 5 spring beans as singleton scope spring beans and other spring beans as the prototype spring beans, but make sure that the prototype scope spring bean are not dependent to singleton scope spring beans. Stereotype annotation. Coming to stereotype annotation, the spring supplied multiple annotations. The spring supplied multiple annotations have similar functionalities are called stereotype annotations. The spring supplied multiple annotations have similar functionality are stereotype annotations. All these annotations perform similar operations with minor changes, minor changes. Note, boys dress is called stereotype dressing. Okay, boys dressing is called stereotype designing and girls dressing is not stereotype dressing, not designing. So a at that component annotation makes the Java class as the spring bean. B at that service makes the Java class as the spring bean come service class. At that repository make the Java class as the spring bean come DAO class oblique repository class oblique precedence class. At that controller make the Java class as the spring bean come web controller class having the ability to take the request from the clients. At that configuration, make the Java class as the Spring Bean come configuration class and etc. The Java class that container that B logic in methods is called service class. The B logic means dealing with calculation, analyzation, validation, storing, filtering, and etc. At that service, Spring Bean automatically get TX management, text management support. I think text management support. Automatically get tech management automatically gets tech management support. Okay. This Java class that contains the precedence logic crude operations is called DAO class oblique repository class. Class DAO class D data access object class. At the rate repository base crude means create, update, uh, or say I don't know, but delete, crude, retrieve. Okay, create, update, retrieve, delete. At the rate repository based on DAO class make the IOC container to convert underlying grid generate JDBC ex- exceptions to Spring oblique Spring Boot exceptions text management transaction management. Okay, this is transaction management. Okay, not text management. It is the process of execution create certain logics by applying do everything or nothing principle. Example, transfer money operation need two operations like A. Withdraw amount from source account. B. Deposit the amount into this dist account. Source account, withdraw the amount of source account, deposit the amount into dist account. Dist, debited account, deposit account. Need to execute by enabling do everything nothing. Everything or nothing. Like one withdraw and one deposit, that's it. At that component having at that service, at that repository, at that controller, at that configuration, or like other likes at that rest controller, at that rest controller advice. Okay. In real project, we develop the project as the layered app. We keep different logic in different Java class and we make them participating in the communication. In this situation, we take the support of these special stereotype annotation to make the Java class as the Spring Bean come special class of layered app. So client app, precedence logic, UI logic, okay, at that controller class, monitoring logic, okay, at that service class, B logic, at that repository, DAO class, precedent class, logic, JDBC, CRUD operation, and this is database software. Note, in any Spring project of 100% code driven configuration, we pass input to IOC container using at the rate configuration class. In any Spring project of 100% code driven 100% code driven configuration 100% code driven configuration, we pass inputs to IOC container using at the rate configuration, that's it. At the rate service oblique at the rate repository oblique at the rate controller at the rate oblique oblique at the rate configuration equals to at the rate component plus plus. This annotation make the Java class as the Spring Bean come special class. Note, all stereotype annotation class will be scanned by at the rate component scan annotation of at the rate configuration class to recognize and use them not normal or special class special Spring Bean. Can you place multi-stereotype annotation for a Java class configuration as Spring Bean? No, not possible. If we provide different bean ID, yes, possible. If we provide some bean IDs, no. If no, not possible. If we provide different IDs, bean IDs, and yes, possible if we provide same IDs, same bean IDs. Different, not possible. Same, possible. At that component WMG with message generator, this is, and at that service with message generator, public class with message generator, and at that component with message generator 1 WMG1 at that service WMG and with message generator class invalid code valid code because same bean IDs. That's why reason valid code, this is invalid code, different bean IDs. In layer app of Spring can change the role of stereotype annotation, yes, but not recommended because the readability of the code and maintenance of the code will be disturbed. Talking taking taking at the rate service for DAO class is bad practice. Taking at the rate repository for service class is bad practice. In layer app of Spring can change the role of stereotype annotation, yes, but not recommended because this readability of the code is and maintenance of the code will be disturbed. Taking at the rate service for DAO class, bad practice. Taking at the rate repository service for a service class is bad practice. Properties file. Coming to properties file. Properties file, the text file that maintain the entire in the form of entries. This is entries. The text file that maintains the entries in the form of key equals to value pair is called properties file. This file is also called uh, resource bundle file. This file is also called resource bundle file. Okay, this file can have any extension, but the recommended extension is dot properties. Okay, the key can have multiple nodes separate with dot symbol. The key can have multiple nodes separate with dot symbols. Info dot properties per dot id equals to 101 name Raza, address Hyderabad, mobile number this. Note, we can write comment in properties file using hash symbol. Note, the properties file that is configured on top of one Spring Bean class using at the rate properties service, sorry, at the rate property source annotation can be used in all the Spring Bean class of the project. To configure the properties with the Spring app using at the rate property source annotation. At the rate property source value equals to name and location of property file on the top of Spring Bean class. We can use at the rate value annotation to read the value from the properties file and to inject them to Spring Bean properties. Give Raja like at the rate value in bracket double quote dollar symbol in curly bracket per dot name, and this name is coming at the rate curly bracket key placeholder represents the value that is going to come from properties file or from other places, and same at the rate value in bracket double quote dollar in curly bracket per dot address, and injecting this field injection string p address string p name. At the rate value is multi-purpose annotation which can be used for different operations. Inject simple value to primitive public Spring Bean properties directly at the rate value Raza private string p name directly injected. No worry. To inject the value collected, sorry, value collected from the properties file to primitive and oblique spring st- string spring properties like at the rate value and dollar symbol curly brackets pr dot name injected spring p name. That's it. Another type, to inject the system properties value on to primitive and string bean properties like at the rate value dollar curly brackets os dot name, and os dot name means system name. Os name osv dot where is etc and etc are the fixed system properties, and os dot where coming to os dot where, and to inject environment variable value primitive string bean properties like dollar path injecting data data path class path java home and etc called environment variable. The key in the dollar curly brackets is called placeholder, the that represents name of the value that going to be injected to spring bean properties. What is the difference? Wait. What is difference between at value, at annotation? Sorry. What is difference between at value and at auto wired annotation? To inject one Spring Bean class object, to inject one Spring Bean class object to another Spring Bean class object, to inject one Spring Bean class object to another Spring Bean class object has a property take support of at the rate auto wired for injecting Spring Bean. For injecting Spring Bean, to inject one Spring Bean class object to another Spring Bean class object has a property. Take the support of at the rate AutoWad for injecting Spring Bean. At the rate AutoWad private engine has a property. Spring Bean to Spring Bean injection to inject values simple value collected from different place like properties file system properties etc to the primitive and string spring bean property take the support of at that value intention like at that value per dot name and injecting field injection private string p name injecting simple value to spring bean properties. Coming to working with properties file as that properties properties yes property source is class level annotation is to configure properties file with a spring application. At that value is the field level annotation. At that value is a field level annotation to inject the value collected from the properties file system properties environment variable with spring beans primitive to primitive and string properties. Comment in the property file can be written using hash symbol. And this is different system properties in Java environment. Java.home, Java.library path, system, file system properties, user properties. Okay, note in real project we use properties file to inject technical value to Spring Spring Boot application like JDBC driver class name, URL, database username, database password, and etc. In real project we use properties file to inject technical values in slash Spring of boot application like JDBC properties, JDBC driver class name, URL, database username, password using properties file. Okay, so this is one example app housing container pros 09 having 4 packages client commons configs package and sbean package have personal info app config and here commons having one properties file and client having properties file dot test dot java. So personal info java, so writing one public class personal info, so importing value property source and component and also importing sbeans like personal info dot java. Personal info dot java, where is this? Okay, so personal info dot java, so this is this class, this class, creating this class personal info dot java. Package dot com dot package creating package com dot nt dot sbeans. Okay, value imported, property source important, component imported at that component p info at that properties source uh, properties file information location value equals to com slash anti slash common slash info properties com slash anti com slash anti slash commons slash info properties dot properties public class personal info injecting the value of properties file spring bin of properties. So at that value having dollar symbol in the curly brackets per dot id and id is injecting where private in integer pid and another p name having one value at that value p per dot name and one another per dot address one another number directly number. Okay, directly I passing number, some number, so long mobile number. Instead of taking primitive properties in Spring Bean class or Java Bean class, it is recommended to take a Weber class type because the hold null when no value is giving which represent on value where is a simple data type style properties hold 0 comma 0.0 as the default value which represents some value. So injected mobile number, injected OS name, os dot name at that value, os dot name at that value, dollar symbol, os dot version, and injecting this version and path also injecting Spring and override one method, two string method, and returning personal info, all this data. Coming to properties file, info.properties, personal info, per.id, per.name, per.address. So here per.id, per.name, per.address. You can take anything as the key and values. Coming to app.config.java, package com.nd.configuration, and importing component scan configuration, and at the rate component scan base package com.nt. Okay, base package is com.nt, and at the rate configuration uh, public class app config, and that's it. In old version of Spring we used to get exception when we pass the wrong key in the value at that value annotation. In old version of Spring, we used to get exception when we pass the wrong key in the at that annotation. In new version of Spring, we cannot getting exception when we pass the wrong key of wrong key in the at that expression. Rather, we can see the injection of placeholder itself and value. Client tab, package com.nt.client, and importing and annotation, config application context, app config, importing personal info, importing properties file test class name, and main class create IOC container at the rate annotation config application context ctx dot equals to new annotation config application context app config dot class get spring bean class object reference personal info equals to ctx dot get bean p info personal info dot class, and system dot println personal info printing. So IOC container internally maintain few ready-made class main class object like environment object. The properties get info from the config properties file, system properties, environment variable values, and send to Spring Bean class object properties based on the key place in the placeholder of the at the rate value annotation. This object can be injected to other storing Spring Bean using at the rate auto-wired annotation. This object can be injected to other Spring Bean using at the rate auto-wired annotation can be accessed from the client app using ctx.getEnvironment method. Client app and environment.env equals to ctx.getEnvironment. Client app environment evn equals to ctx.getEnvironment, and system.println os.name and environment.property get properties os.name. Another Spring Bean class having autowired environment and component p info 1 and personal info 1, autowired private environment evn, public void show data, and os.name environment property, environment.get property os.name, and pr.id key at the invo env dot get property PRID. Environment is not the object of environment interface. It is the object of a class that implement environment interface. In Spring 6.x version, the class name is class name if environment object standard environment. So info.properties, personal info, pr.id 1001, name Raza, Hyderabad, IOC container, environment object. This is an environment object, and system properties and environment in variable values are coming to environment object, and environment object are sending to Spring Bean class object at the value and key and Spring Bean properties. How to configure multiple Spring Bean configuration file in our Spring app. At that properties, all locations dot properties name. So info dot one properties, info dot properties, and properties. This is if multiple properties file that are configured with the Spring app are having same key and with different key than the other value annotation having that key injected with value as the final value. The lastly configure properties file in address properties source annotation k maintain value will be pick up for injecting the value to the spring bin properties. So spring bin class added value dollar symbol in pr.id and injecting this field private int pid gets 001 as the value from info.properties second file. So info one dot properties having one pr.id 1010 and info.properties having pr.id 1010 name equal raja and bill amount is this. So in app config.java having added property and this is com slash anti slash commons slash info one dot properties and comma com slash anti slash commons info dot properties. We are passing two properties files. So this is all about stereotype annotation. Thank you.